Thank you all for coming and giving your valuable time during the engagement week. We have the Computing and Engineering What Comes Next Alumni panel. And this event has been co-organized by the Alumni Relations team, Hussein and myself. Okay. My name, for those of you that you don't know me, I'm Anastasia. I'm a senior lecturer at the School of Computer Science and Engineering, and my subject areas are mathematics and computer graphics. Now, I'm joined here from a wonderful panel of recent graduates where they are coming to share with you their insights about careers, employability, what went well, what went wrong when they were start applying for different job applications out there, and any tips they can share with you. Okay. About the whole discussion and how we organize the today's meeting is that, as you can see, everything is recorded. So we are going to share everything on Blackboard, and the video will be available for you to go back again at your own pace. You should receive an email, a follow-up email by the Alumni Teams Relations with the link where you can access this video, but also any other useful information that they think is relevant to this discussion. I can see Hussein standing there, so if you would like to say hello. Thank you so much, Hussein. So the panel will introduce themselves in the next 5-10 minutes, and then we are going to have some questions which they will be put forward by me the first time, okay? And then we have students here and anyone else who would like to actually put questions to the panel. Now, of course, you can always raise your hand and ask directly the panel, but we have also the Mentimeter app. So there is a link there that you can go to menti.com and you can use this code if you want to post your questions anonymously. Okay, and someone from the alumni team will pick up these questions and they will put them forward to the panel. Okay, so again, you can always post anonymously your questions there, and we will try and grab your questions and put them forward to the panel. Okay. So that's about the event. Don't forget that after we finish the event, we are going to have a social networking session, for example, in an informal way with some light refreshments and drinks where you can find at the back of the room. So please stay to ask further questions to the panel, networking, and have some light snacks as well. Okay. So thank you so much for coming. And I will start first with the introductions. I will let yourself to introduce to our students. And what I would like to know is, of course, when you introduce yourself, your name, your degree, okay, when, the year of graduation, what is your current job, actually, where are you working, and what are your responsibilities so far. So each of you, you have a few minutes, for example, to introduce yourself. So I will start from my right side, okay?
Hello everyone, my name is Elisa. Currently I'm working at Masabi, which is a digital transit company. I was studying at Westminster from 2015 to 2019. And since then I also worked at BBC. So I've had 2 company experiences for tech so far.
Excellent, well done.
Hi, my name is James. I graduated in 2017 and I studied computer science, got a BSc, and did a bit more learning after that and got a diploma elsewhere. And so I joined BA Systems in 2019 and I left there this summer and joined IBM as a developer. So I've been there about a month and a half now.
Okay, thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Yusra. I currently work for a data management solutions company. So what that means is basically we help companies move to the cloud, AWS, Azure, GCP. I have 2 degrees, one in computer science in 2019, Westminster. With transition, obviously, I did information security with Royal Holloway. So I did freelancing for 1 year for a hacking company as a pen tester, and then I just went straight to solutions engineering. And I do pre-sales and talks like this. So nice to meet you.
So yeah, my name is Trom, and I did computer science, and I graduated in 2021. So right now I work as a junior software engineer at this company called Events Force. So what our company does is that we provide like an online event management tool. So it's similar to Eventbrite, but it's like catered for more for companies. And I programmed it in React, TypeScript, SQL, and now we start to introduce Python as well to our code base. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Hey everyone, so my name is Matt Hollick. I graduated in 2021 from the School of Computer Science. I did digital media development, and I currently work as a system integration engineer for Disguise Technologies. And what we basically do is we produce a platform, and I help to bring that platform together and allow everyone to share their stories on this platform. So.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for the introductions. As you can see, we have a very diverse panel and very high skillful panel here. So I'm sure you get a lot and you will learn a lot from their experience and from their job responsibilities.
I'm not always the most confident of individuals, and I think the reason I came to Westminster was to kind of reach through this glass ceiling I felt I'd hit. And Westminster gave me the confidence, and I think it's the confidence in the relationships I've built with my tutors here, my lecturers, and all my studies, and also the extra projects that I did, that allowed me to go beyond the unknown, which is where I kind of sit now in this weird world.
Yeah, now I can add to that. So obviously, when I did software development, which is a module and as part of the computer science degree, we had to be split into teams. So everyone was delegated tasks. So who was able to do, say, that task, this task, you can actually understand your weaknesses and your strengths. So you start to utilize that, and then you could use that on your job, in your role as well, because the reality of the module, those skill sets you pick up can actually be used in your real role. So pick up at the weaknesses and the strengths. So that's
I think I also want to add to that is that like while like studying at University of Westminster, I think you build resilience. So there are times that you like, especially at work where I'm working right now, it's like you kind of like feel stupid, but you still have to push on, and then you also have to come up with solutions as well. So like, as what Isra said about like doing like the software development module where you have to work as a group, you have to like, especially at work, you work with like so many senior people, but you have to come up with your own ideas as well and also contribute as well. And that's kind of a skill that I kind of really need to have, like especially like when I'm working with like groups of people at my workplace.
So yeah, just don't sit back, always have an input, help your peers. If someone's literally just lagging, just tell them you're lagging. Just don't just ignore it or go to the teacher, tell them it, because you're going to work with real teams in your job. You're not just going to go to your manager and say, look, this teammate, he's not really doing well. You're going to have to bring him in and actually explain, this is what you're doing wrong. You're bringing us down. We need to complete this project. You need to go and do this. We need to get this deadline done. And that's it, because at the end of the day, you're working in this team and your manager's not going to do anything, nor your director. And that all that, the responsibility will be falling on you, not only just him, but you too. So you've got to bring each other up in a way. But if you have an issue, that it's literally, that's the thing, you're going to have to think about it, think about another plan B or something. But, yeah.
So what I would like to take from the three of you, and then I will put it forward to Elisa and the rest of the panel, maybe to elaborate a little bit more. So my understanding is that group work really is a must, for example, and it helps you a lot with your experience, which is very, very good news.
So my one's quite obvious actually. So during my course, so I studied computer science. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but I did a sandwich course, and during my second year of computer science, that's when I learned that you could actually do a sandwich course even if you hadn't applied for it before. So I transitioned and I started applying to jobs, and I know Westminster had really good careers department. They helped me with my CV and also just like what to look out for. But I did end up finding BBC, which I worked for, I guess, 12 months before my final year of university. And I would say that was literally life-changing, because once I graduated, I had a secure job ready for me. And I know lots of smart people in my course that I guess got firsts and whatnot, everything that you guys probably think is important, but they really struggled to find jobs afterwards. So I would say if you have the opportunity to get work experience, then like please do it, because it's going to help you, and especially now where it's much harder.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I didn't have any experiences like the rest of the panel in terms of using the university's services to enable me to improve myself, so to speak. But I'd say that the teaching was comprehensive enough that we touched on nearly everything that the industry wants from us as graduates, that in every interview I went for touched upon something I'd been taught in my modules. So I wasn't totally underprepared in many areas, but I was trying to show the interviewer that I was competent in. So I'd say that's one of the benefits that Westminster actually prepared me for. For example, if you've got to talk to an interview about user stories and how you develop a product from when you're talking to a client to the point of delivery of that entire software lifecycle process, is something that I think I was well prepared for, because I think at the time when I was here, we had an entire module on how you go from start to finish through the software lifecycle, and being able to espouse that is quite valuable to a client, especially when I went to BA Systems. They were quite big on demonstrating that you knew how to start off from that point of creation to the point of delivery. And that varies from whoever you're interviewing with, but you'll have to call upon different knowledge across all your modules depending on the jobs that you're going for. And I think if you can remember all of that and bring it to the fore, then you'll be well placed for nearly any job you want to go for. Of course, it doesn't mean hard work.
Okay, thank you so much. I mean, it looks like you have an excellent experience actually with the University of Westminster, and all of you use different resources in the way that you would like, for example, to put forward your career, and the way that it's going to help you with finding your dream job. Okay, and I'm glad we are here to support you, and you've had such a lovely experience.
For me, I actually started in my final year in November of my final year. So that's a whole 6 months before graduation, I believe, or just over 6 months. I found the process, because it was just during COVID had just sort of like ended, and the working industry was sort of kind of getting back to where it was. I found it crazy. I got rejected from just about every single graduate role that I applied for. On the day of graduation, I didn't have anything lined up, but also on that day that I graduated, I got a call from Disguise to say, look, you interviewed for this role, we'd like to take you on. And so it's a weird one, because it's a dream job in a way. And it's very much about that process. If I hadn't started that process, I don't think I would have been willing to accept maybe looking outside of that box of just a graduate position. I had to apply myself and apply, like one of the key things is I did game jams. So the university sponsored me to go to Graz to interact with all of the students there, to do game jams all the time. That on my CV was one of the big highlights during my interview process. My boss talked to me quite extensively. What did you do? How did you work with this? How did you work with the code? Because we do a lot of graphics, and graphics are so hugely important to us that I didn't realize that my work in the game jams would have been so key and instrumental in me getting a job that was not just graduate, but above, and like in this sort of like zone where actually, I could cope with it. I'm not just a student, I'm a human being, and I'm not just what Westminster taught me, but they gave me that great grounding. So that was a huge thing.
Okay, thank you so much, Glenn. Yeah.
So yeah, I think I have like a similar experience to Matthew. So I think I started a little bit early, so just October, just a month earlier. But I also found like the actual finding work to be very difficult. So I also applied for graduate roles as well, and I remember like as Matthew said, like I got rejected. So I mean, after that, I think so. I was just only looking for graduate roles, but then I kind of just opened my eyes to like different roles, I guess. So I kept up. I made a LinkedIn profile, for example, and I like right now keep it active just to be able to help with my job search. But so I not only on LinkedIn, but I also use Reed and like other like CV websites as well. And I think one of my companies, so my company in particular contacted me like through Reed, and that's how I was able to find a job. But I think also having like my personal projects, they kind of help with like the whole aspect of finding that job in particular. So yeah, me accepting that job in particular. So and also the fact that I was also in like several programs through university, which kind of helped me with my interpersonal skills. And I kind of realized that like as like computer science students, we kind of tend to be like kind of awkward. And I really did think like the interpersonal skills that I learned from like some programs I was joined in. So like I joined in like several programs. So there's one particular that I think really helped me. So it's this program called Color in Tech. So it's open for like final year students and for graduates to help with like interviewing skills and for their CVs as well. So I found that really helpful, and I also was part of the Westminster Work and Cultures program as well. So I think also having like good interpersonal skills is really good when you for your interviews, because you find that it really matters, because if you can't communicate your points like if you can't communicate your points, then the interviewer doesn't understand like what you're saying. So it's like really difficult for them to accept you, because as part of working as a team, you have to communicate like effectively, and if you can't put like your ideas like down on paper, then they won't really like consider you as like a good like employee, for example. So yeah, that's kind of like my experience in terms of like finding work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to touch on his point, communication is so important. I'll tell you why. Basically, so after uni, I literally applied. Okay, I applied. I got rejected. I went to every place possible to try and find a job, and then it was because the thing is, the role that I applied for was software engineering. Guess what? I didn't like it. So you need to choose a role that you guys like, you guys love, your passion. So this is what I did. I did a bit of freelance work for security. I thought, okay, I'm gonna totally have a wicked LinkedIn account, and then everything was about security, right? Guess what? I got headhunted. I didn't apply for the role that I got. The role that I have now, the recruiter thought, let me message you on a chat on LinkedIn. And I said, okay, I'm going to go for an interview with the recruiter. I didn't even apply for the role. I didn't even put my details in and put my CV in. I did the interview in my car, literally with the recruiter. I literally did it in my car. I had my laptop on my lap. And it's a funny story because I was coming out from a friend's house. And then she's like, you know what, you're great. The way you can communicate right now is really, you're passionate about security, right? And it's one of the best things in technology is that we need to know when we can protect data, how we're able to protect ourselves from ransomware and all that jargon stuff. So then I got into the second interview with my manager, and then he's like, this is great. Well, wow, you've taught me something new. I taught him something new, right? I had to do a total big presentation on pen testing, which was the security presentation. He learned something really new about honeypot, so I'm able to track people through the network. so basically what happened was I'm able to track people using a honeypot called Cowrie, right? So it literally monitors traffic inbound and outbound. So I can see whether you're sniffing through my network, and I can actually track you, because you're going to think this is actually all my data you're trying to steal. So I actually taught him that. I said, you know what I'll do is I'll give you my dissertation. I'll send it to your email, right? And he's like, okay, it's great. So then I had an interview with the director, and then he was like, well, you know this is pre-sales, right? It's not really pen testing. I was like, yeah, no, okay, I understand this is pre-sales, but you're still talking about software. So anyways, the lesson learned is definitely be confident. He said communication, thirdly, passion about your whatever role you're going to get into. I don't know, some of you are computer science students, some of you are gaming students, at least have a passion for a certain subject because you're able to articulate it. Every job involves consultancy. I don't know about software engineers, but but you still have to consult your clients. You still have to consult your team. You still have to consult your managers, your directors. Everyone you have to talk to them. There's no way like running away from them. That's the truth.
And if you're not passionate about, something yourself, you can be passionate about that company. You can be passionate about the work that they do and want to work for them and drive their business forward because you have that passion for something that they do. It's part of you. That's very much for me what Disguise is all about. It's about storytelling. I love storytelling. So it's like that's what I did at Westminster. I just did, how to tell stories, how to create boards and animate characters and do games and stuff like that. And here I get to help other people put on the most amazing shows. Amazing. Like next level. Like
and I'm telling you, if you don't like something, that's because you're not passionate about it. But if you're going to try and be passionate about a subject, at least try and put all your all in. Because something that I don't know, you can teach me. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I also want to add is that with passion as well, is that if you ask a lot of questions, I think in the past, like when I was in studying for university, like I was kind of scared of asking the stupid or dumb questions. But I find that, so for example, when we create stories, for example, it might not be obvious to a person. So we have a product owner that is able to govern the stories, for the features that we produce that is released to deployment or for the users to be able to use. And I ask them those kind of questions, even though it might seem stupid, can actually spot a lot of mistakes in the way the code is being presented, for example. So for example, it might translate well, in terms of the business perspective into the actual code, because there might be sorts of issues. So it's just asking questions as well is really helpful when it comes to actually communicating as well. Because I find that if you ask a lot of questions, you can be able to actually help solve a particular business idea or even come up with a better solution. I think it's really helpful to just ask questions.
Yeah. So what I would like to take from the 3 panel members, and I will put it forward to the other 2 panel members, is that first of all, you need to have passion of what you're doing, which I fully agree. Okay, so you need to be very passionate about your subject topic and what you want to do. Communication skills, very, very important. Another thing to tick the box there, you need actually to present yourselves, okay? And you need to sell yourself and what you know and be confident about what you know and also about what you don't know. Just be realistic and be honest about what you don't know.
So I had my job after I graduated at BBC, and that was in 2019, and then COVID happened in 2020.
Yeah.
I was actually looking for a new job at that time. I was pretty scared, to be honest, about changing job in the middle of a pandemic because I wasn't sure which company was going to be secure, which companies were going to let me off if I managed to get the job there. But I just applied to lots of different places, and I was quite strict on myself. I know when you don't have a job, you can be kind of desperate, you'd want to take any job. Not in a bad way, you have to live. But when you have a job, it's a lot easier. So I had more of a chance to be okay, I don't like this company. It's not for me. So I was a bit more strict on myself. But when I did get the job with the company I'm at now, I was surprised at how adjusted everyone was already to the whole remote interviews, remote onboarding and everything. I was actually surprised. It could depend on the company, to be honest. Maybe if they're smaller, less bodies, it might not be as organized. But again, you have the choice of which company you're joining. I had interviews with some companies who seemed a bit unorganized, and I didn't take on that job, But overall, I don't know if I went off track with the question.
No.
Overall, I like it now. I'm fully remote. I guess sometimes going to the office for team building activities, but I like the flexibility.
Well, I'd say my company adjusted to COVID very rapidly, but in a very disorganized way. So IT was not up to scratch. We dropped off calls. We abandoned using the cameras, mainly because our project was defense anyway, but it wasn't worth the time for the bandwidth. And it was a very rocky start. It improved as IT was provisioned and they paid more money because we're cheapskates. You will not be surprised that many companies do not want to spend money on IT because they feel that they don't get as much return from it as they do if they buy a new sensor for the laboratory or something, despite the loss of productivity hours. And some companies are willing to sacrifice that. And that's something you kind of have to put up with. And you can't change the computer settings yourself and improve things without authorization. So you may find that frustrating, but at the same time, you're being paid not to do anything at this point. As time went on, things got better. As I was looking for another job, because I fell out with my manager straight away, not my fault. I was looking for a job throughout COVID, and I found my job earlier this summer. So as I was going through those years looking for a job on and off, as I was umming and ahhing about leaving, I did notice that as the pandemic was lessening, remote roles were drying up and becoming more hybrid roles. And managers were preferring more of their employees in the office. It varies from company to company, their culture, what the managers are like, whether or not they just want people to rule over because they want to see them, or is it that, you really need them in your employees in the office because of some kind of physical need. For us, as I was at BAE Systems, it was very much engineering, so we could turn off our circuit boards with remote plugs, so we didn't actually have to come in. So it was a management decision to come in. So you personally have to think about, is this worth your time? Do you really like coming to the office? Do you like your company's culture? Is the commute a right fit for you? It wasn't for me because it was a 2-hour commute each way. So you have to weigh up all the pros and cons of all that, plus with the economic crisis of, does it make sense to go to the office? Do I like going into the office? Do I like this job? And many people are reconsidering that as their roles reduce from remote to hybrid. And you don't always have to leave your company for a remote role like I did. You could always see if you could laterally, move within the company to a role that is fully remote. Because for us, if you were working in the factory creating circuit boards, you were very much on site 100%. I would say it's definitely, you think about what's best for you of what you want from work. And so when you're looking online on Indeed, Monster.com or whoever, you look in the title and see, is it hybrid, is it fully remote? And if you know what you're looking for straight away. But if they don't disclose, you can always sit through the interview, because essentially, I always look at interviews that interrogation is too strong a word, but you are there to ask questions, they are to ask questions of you. And one of the things you should be asking questions about, not just, okay, what's the most difficult thing that's going to be coming down the pipeline in a year's time or something. For this project, you're going to be asking things about your working conditions. How many hours, where's the office?
I think for me, my experience was like, I suffered quite a lot from depression during the COVID period, and the university was very much there for me, but I was that, very much from low mood to depression. For the role itself, I was very much looking for something that was going to be in the office. So originally, my role was formed under the Department of Hardware, because it's very much a hardware role. And so what we would have been working with, and we were working with in the beginning, was graphics cards, putting them into server boards, testing them. I worked a lot initially with my boss, going to San Diego to develop new products and stuff like that. If COVID were to hit again now, we would essentially be considered essential staff. Yes, we could remote in, but this was something I actively chose within the role, and I spoke quite a bit to my boss during the interview process about it, because we have a great company which has actually looked at expanding into hybrid working, and so we do have a hybrid working policy. We can set up KVMs to remote into devices remotely and do setups remotely, but that choice is you. It's like you, the individual, is important to the company. They want to build you up. And that focus has been about, if we can support you to do your best work, we'll support you to do that best work, whether it's remote And a lot of, I think, the other teams, I think like product marketing, product engineering as well, will do things remotely and then spend 50% of their time remote, and then 50% of their time maybe with the customer and the client, client facing. But because we work in broadcast and live events, sometimes we have no choice. We have to be there. We're part of the show. We're part of keeping the mechanism going. I think in tech, you need to realize that some of those roles are going to be 24/7. You're going to be part of the infrastructure.
I have something to add. So actually, I'm kind of lucky. So I mean, now for my work, it's once like every week, but usually I come in like once every 3 weeks, and I find it really like absolutely like amazing. Because I'm kind of introverted and I also have ADHD, and I find that on the days when I do come in, I feel so overwhelmed. So I really like the aspect of actually working at home, because I don't get distracted. I can just focus on my work, and I don't have to feel like as guilty if I'm not doing it as much. Because sometimes, like, especially when I'm at work as well, because when you're like coding, sometimes you get stuck at a problem and you don't want to like stare at the problem like the whole time. So I just tend to like stand up and do something else, and then sometimes the problem, like the solution actually comes to me when I actually feel like when I'm doing something else. So I find that really helpful. But in terms of like actual like finding work, I find that you shouldn't be like too picky, especially at the very beginning. I know like remote work is kind of like diminishing as well, but I still think that if you're like introvert, I still think you should like still be open to like anything possible.
I'm going to challenge you actually on that. You need to be stronger. I want you to go away from here and be stronger with your company and be like, no, I want it this way. Change, be the influencer.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But, I'm lucky that my company is quite small, so I might be able to introduce it. But
it's hard.
So I will go now to another question which relates. So we finished with COVID and COVID related. But I would like now, I know that some of you mentioned, for example, that of course when you were start applying for jobs, I don't know if any of you, the first job that you applied, you got it as well. You must have been very, very lucky, but you had a lot of closed doors, for example. So your application has been unsuccessful for many times.
Sometimes you won't get feedback, I'm going to be honest, but don't cry about it. Just keep applying. But when you do get feedback, you're really lucky, because that company comes back to you and just tells you, look, just fix this and come back to us, and you can apply after 6 months. But what kind of feedback I'll get is, because I really didn't like the subject of software engineering, I just didn't like coding. So feedback was I wasn't articulating code so much, even though I understood it. I just didn't know how to blur out the words. So obviously, again, it comes down to confidence and communication. But yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say.
I can add to that one. Alright. So when I joined my recent company, I had the opportunity to be part of an interview panel, because it's quite a small company and they didn't have many people. Anyways, from doing these interviews, I realized that a lot of the time it's not you that's the problem. It's like just you have to be in the right place at the right time. The company is looking for specific people. The team is looking for a specific kind of person, and it could just be that panel, you just don't fit in with them. Your experience doesn't fit in. So you shouldn't feel too bad about not getting a job, because sometimes it's really not you. And also like about feedback. Sometimes you won't get feedback. Sometimes you can push them. You can be like, I had an interview with you. Could you please provide me some feedback? Sometimes they will reply. Sometimes they won't. But also, again, you need to be aware that it's not always the tech lead or the software engineer lead that's organizing all of this. It will be a recruiter. It will be someone within the HR team that's doing this, and they're not going to know much about like what you did in the interview. They'll receive some stuff like, oh, they didn't have enough experience, and they'll try and like formulate it in a way so it makes sense in the email. But like, you shouldn't take it too harshly.
Yeah. I mean, I'd have to say you've got to have a tough skin, because some of the feedback for me in the beginning was like, wow, okay, I know I'm a bit older and I'm a bit more fixed, and yes, I'll get there. I'm not as fast as everyone else, especially with some of those code, tests, because it's like, does it go this way, does it go that way, does it go this way, does it go that way, and up, down. And it's like psychometric testing, but it's like, man, okay, I'm not perfect. You know, so I think you've got to have a tough skin, but also I've been lucky recently, so I've been promoted into a senior position. And so I'm hiring for my team at the moment. I'm very lucky to say I have a team. This is the first time in my life I've ever had that. And you know what? I think I take a bit more of a personal approach because of that. And I know the industry doesn't do that. But we do have checks and balances you have to go through. You've got to remember the companies, they're looking for a specific thing. So there'll be two sides. They'll look for the individual and they'll look for the skill set. Because those two things together make the person that you're going to work with. But for me, that's the person I'm looking for on my team. You know, who am I going to interact day to day, have stand-ups with, do agile development with, you know. That's what it's just saying.
I'll add to that. So after I graduated, I started looking for work after I finished education now. It took a very long time to get a job. So first thing I did was adjust the CV, keep changing it, keep modifying it so that it speaks to that specific job that you're applying to. So that if, say, for instance, they're talking about different kinds of requirements or, you know, software lifecycle, because you have to read between the lines on the job application. What specifically are they looking for in the employee and what kind of skills they're looking for? And typically, even though they put it into essential, desirable, and any extra skills, they're kind of really looking for the whole package. And
so you need to research the company more or less.
Yeah, you need to research the company and what they're looking for, and basically you need to fulfill as many of the spots from essential to desirable as possible. And even if you don't have that, you need to try and emphasize what is it about you that closely matches it or your interests to that job to make them more interested in saying yes to even interview you. The next step is, you know, specifically if you're not trying to join someone like IBM or like Accenture or any of those big companies that do graduate programs between now and December, where you're applying to a big company, you come in on a scheme and you stay there 18 months to 2 years, is that if you're out of that cycle, then it becomes quiet from December to about March in IT hiring. So then from March till summer, instead everybody on full pelt to fill in positions that are open in small to medium companies. And as you're a person with no experience, that's going to be a lot, I think, of the feedback that I personally got. Because I didn't have any position, I didn't take a sandwich course while I was here, and I regret doing that. Because the number one thing that they're looking for is experience, then the things that they may be looking for on the job application. So I'd say, number one, you definitely need to do the sandwich course. I would definitely do that. Because then you work at the company, you've already got a year's experience. And so they're not having to think of you as something that's broken or busted that needs to be improved. I mean, some companies can see that way, but then there are some companies that approach you as that, okay, you have no experience, we will hire you. And the third thing I'd say is that once you then go through your CV and keep iterating and changing it for each position, you also get a recruiter working for you. So push out your CV to CV sites so that recruiters can find you. And then you'll immediately, as soon as you put it out, recruiters will start ringing you on the phone saying, hi, I'm from ABC Recruitment. They will pose you jobs. You do not have to take all of them. Some of them you definitely don't want. The first thing you do is when they call you, you say, thank you very much. Can I have the job specification?
Yeah.
So you can read it, understand what the company is personally looking for as you as an individual. Because you will tell the recruiter, I'm looking for a junior position or a graduate position, but the position could be very different on the job application. And even though the recruiter says otherwise, it's what the company wants. And the next bit is that once you've got that, you say to them, okay, I'll have the job spec, give me 24 hours to look it over. You're going to look at that company on Glassdoor, Indeed, everywhere that they have presence to understand, has this job been on the internet for more than 30 days? Does that means they haven't found anyone for that job yet? So that possibly means either they haven't found them or even nobody wants to work for them. So you need to understand whether or not it's a good company in terms of culture, whether or not you want to be there. So the thing is, typically you don't want to go below 3 stars on Glassdoor. You can see the trend. You know, if they were at rock bottom and then suddenly they're at 5 stars now, you know that they're pumping reviews. So that means company culture hasn't changed. And if you manage the interview process to go there, you definitely can't do that. So that's your period or window to understand what the company is looking for and is it a good company to go to, and then you initiate that interview process by saying to the recruiter, pass my CV along. And that's typically how it works. And once you've sent your CV out there, yes, it is on the public internet, so remove things like your address, sensitive information like that. But once it's on many sites, recruiters can come to you. Now, I wouldn't say that's your only way to find jobs. I would specifically say that you should continue to apply for your own jobs personally as an individual, because not every job that recruiters will bring to you will be of interest, or it may not be in the field that you want, because then they're trying to be flexible, because in the stack of positions recruiters are usually trying to recruit for, it's mid-tier people who have had 2 to 5 year experience and beyond, and graduate and juniors very small in the amount of jobs that they have available. So I'd say you have that dual path that you've got going on. And then the final thing I'd say is, as you do more applications, you do it like a spreadsheet to check, I've applied for this job, there's the first round, second round, third round, fourth round, and then the final round of a face-to-face interview. And you track how far you get through the interview stage, and any feedback you do get from the recruiters or from the companies themselves. So you understand, A, what is it that's holding you back from getting that job or moving through to the next stage? And then B, if the company hasn't said anything.
It varies.
Okay, well, in my experience, if the company hasn't said anything, where did you stop dead? And what should you then sort of improve? So if you stop dead at a telephone interview, do I need to improve on that? So then
I think you put forward some very, very interesting points, which I would like the other panel members to take. First of all, from your comments and whatever you're suggesting, is that we need reflection to reflect back to yourself, okay? Actually, to the whole process when you're applying for a job, okay? To see what probably is holding you back in order to find this dream job or to improve yourself and get the job.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that about regrets. You mentioned something that you would like, for example, to do the sandwich year, and maybe the sandwich year have helped you or will help you in order to find a job.
I was going to attest to what James was saying, was that experience is very key. I find that with a lot of feedback I got was that I had really good interpersonal skills, but it's just that I didn't have the experience and they had no way of actually testing me of if I was a good fit for the company. So if you don't have any experience, I would suggest that you actually practice some of your coding skills. I find that I was also kind of failing in some of my interviews as well, because I wasn't as good at coding, for example. So I mean, you can't just necessarily just kind of wing it. You have to kind of practice your coding skills to be able to actually answer the questions in good time. And if you feel you can't be able to do that at a good standard, at the very least, I think you should have some personal projects that you can display your skills in, because it's one way of testing your aptitude if you don't have to do the experience.
Is it a bit like, if no coding skill, then no job, otherwise job?
Yeah, I think that kind of is, just because I guess when you're a graduate, you don't have any work experience. So at the very least, you kind of need to have something to say for employees to be able to know that you are good at what you do. So having good coding skills and having some sort of personal project. For my recommendations, I would do something in React, for example, because I think that's one of the more popular languages for web development. You can for example, show the portfolio website, and show your skills and whatnot, and you find that a lot of people aren't willing to do that. But if you're willing to make the step, for example, to be able to make a personal project, and it shouldn't take you a couple of hours, I guess, but also which I also recommend as well, is that you also try to use Git as well, because Git is very popular in sort of the development industry. You have to know Git. You can't escape it otherwise.
Version control, really.
Yeah. So to the moment you actually commit in you making commits, for example, showing and also have a good Git repository to be really good. Even though I didn't even do that when I was doing it, but now I know, and when I'm probably going to look for my next job, I'm actually going to even like have my own Git account and try to like have personal projects, and it should be really easy for me now that I've like have the work experience to be able to like do a project in like no less than
I actually actively was looking at CVs that where I'd click onto the GitHub page and I'd look through their GitHub projects to see whether there would be a good fit within the system integration kind of like field. Because I wanted to understand, did they do C++, did they apply themselves in other ways? Git is like amazing for that. So get involved in Git, but also...
But I was going to add, none of you asked him if he's actually, you know, because you just said there's an open position, right? None of you asked him if you could apply for that position. How many third year students are in this room? Can you raise your hand? Second year.
You should be shy.
Are they all first year? Are you all first year students? Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So this is all first year students, right? No, this is good because I don't see any notebooks, right? I don't see any writing. I think you lot should start writing, start looking for internships for your second year, and you should have asked him for a role. That's it.
Can I just add up for the experience to cut you off, the projects that you were mentioning? I think that's really, really important. So obviously I had it a bit easy because I had the internship. So when I applied to jobs after I graduated, it was easier. But if you don't have the experience, what I suggest you do is you start looking at job descriptions of companies and job roles that you're interested in, and you're going to see some similarities. You're going to see React, you're going to see Vue.js, whatever. And if these job roles interest you, I suggest you do projects in these frameworks, in these stacks. And when you get to the interview, you might not have the experience, but you can at least say, you know, I have the passion, I can learn, I've done this on my side, side experience.
Anything you can do to talk about yourself.
I really don't think like personal projects sound like a very like large, like it's so like really scary, but like trust me, it won't take that long to be able to like make a personal project and just start with like, I don't know, basic HTML page. You should just build on what you can, what you already know. And then if you don't know it already, then I think you could like watch up like YouTube videos, for example, if you're doing like a React project on how to like make a functional website. And I also went to this tech event called Silicon Roundabout. I'm not sure anyone knows, but it's this huge tech event that is open to like small to medium companies that I think it's in November. They actually have this opening in November right now, but they said talk about like having that AWS like server to be able to run the website. So for example, and if you add that to like your personal project, that makes you like stand out from the rest of the crowd because to be able to like host a website, for example, requires a lot of like third for example.
Yeah, go to events. There's a site called Computer Weekly. If you subscribe, there's like free events for people like you. Go communicate, go network, and then again the personal project aspect. So yeah.
But also the university had like loads of stuff, and I just dived into as much as I could do. If it was like a weekend thing, I would get involved. If it was like after hours, or if it was with the student union, and all of those things really are things that I think the student union like gave me the confidence to speak and interact, more directly with people. And that confidence, I think, within interviews with someone new. I think the games jams gave me that like coding skills, collaborative working, GitHub experience, version control experience beforehand. And then I think some of like the code stuff, it just expands your knowledge. And so like when you are offered a role that's slightly on the fringes, but pulls from different sides of things, then I think it gives you, just, more. More is better rather than less. Who are you? That's what you're trying to tell someone else. It's who you are. Not to be like, oh my God, like, hi. It's like, because you are important. It's like at Disguise, what we really value is people. Because people make those shows. It puts us on the cutting edge of the development of our technology. That's really who we are.
I was just going to round up and say that everything that everyone said here is entirely true. But I think the main thing that you're going to be up against when you go shopping for a job is just the lack of experience. And the question is, how do you plug that? So, whether it be open source projects of your own, internships, the sandwich year in industry that's very valuable. How you plug that experience is very much up to you, and before you get to that job. It will actually it will catapult you towards your job even faster if you can plug that experience down. Otherwise, then it will then be a case of just how long it takes you to get there. And once, say, you do land that dream job, it will take, or not dream job, but a job, it will shorten the amount of time it takes you to get the next one. And then after that, it should be a lot better. But
Just to add, referrals are really, really, really important, right? So if you can't find a job and you're out of like ideas, obviously you're not doing the things we probably said, go through referrals. If someone works in a company that is your friend, your sister, your brother, your mother, just tell them, I want to get into your company. They'll put your CV on some system and they refer you, and then you can go through an interview phase. A lot of my friends went through referral schemes. They didn't just apply, they actually went through referral schemes. So that is a powerful.
Shamelessly plug yourself.
No, I'm not even lying. There's actually one, and I'm not trying to shame or
No.
say anything, but
Shamelessly.
there is a couple of people that went through a referral scheme without, a degree or anything like that. I'm just being honest. So that's basically.
Because I'm conscious about time, and I would like to give plenty of time to our students to post and ask their own questions, I would like to put forward my very, very last question.
So my final grade has changed my life fundamentally.
Okay,
Yeah,
we can keep that. That says it all.
that took me a long time to get there.
Okay, that's very, very important.
I don't think it's that important, but at the same time, at least it's. I mean, a lot of companies do expect like a 2-1 world first, so I don't think it's that important. But having like the aptitude or like the actual skills to be able to code into a software engineering, for example, is really important. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay, thank you. You sure?
Not really, to be honest. As long as you know how to take exams, then you can get loads of certifications. So it's actually the technique of taking those exams and passing them. So you take that and then you utilize it in your job, but pretty much not really.
The example is that for me, good grade was very important. First or 2-1 for most of the companies that I applied to. I know that some major companies are now being more relaxed and 2-2 is more accepted if things didn't go so well whilst you were doing your degree. I would definitely say try and stick to 2-1 at first to try and just make your life that much easier.
Okay, thank you.
For me, for my job role, I don't remember seeing anything specific in the description saying that you have to have 2-1-1, blah blah blah. But I agree. Sorry.
No.
No. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Second one, sure, if I can say it. I agree with you about like the mentality. If you have the determination to try and get first in your uni course, then clearly you're determined to succeed in life. To be honest, that's how I think it is. Yeah, so I think it matters in terms of mentality, but like at the end of it, if you get 2-1 and a 1, it's not that big of a difference. But yeah.
Okay, thank you. And 5 things then. I'll take one thing from Matt and the rest of you. So 5 important things that our students can take with them today.
Creativity.
Okay, excellent.
Resilience, I think it's important.
Excellent as well. Yeah.
Confidence.
Wow, yeah. Another good one. Very important.
Preparation.
Excellent. What can I say?
I
Yeah.
didn't know we had to do one word. I was going to say a whole thing.
Everything.
But I just want to quickly say, sorry, I know you're on time,
That's absolutely.
but like don't give up. When you like kind of mentioned before about recruiters kind of doing a lot of the things when it comes to job descriptions, don't give up when it comes to applying to jobs, or if you see a job that you think, this is a bit too experienced for me, don't get fooled. Sometimes they write these things just because they want the best people, and I don't blame them. Like, why would you want someone rubbish in your company? But just apply. I mean, what do you have to lose? You're gonna get rejected. That's it.
And I'd say apply again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it. Apply again.
Okay.
I
mean, yeah.
It shows a level of confidence.
Depends how determined you are about that company and how like passionate you are about the company. But if you're not that passionate, don't apply it again and waste your time. But yeah, don't give up. Just keep going, and like you said as well, your first job will help you with your next job and so on. So.
Okay. Thank you so much. I would like to thank our panel members for an excellent presentation. Very good. as well for coming and giving up your time. I hope you find it very, very useful. And we are now open to your questions.
Mostly because the computer science degree there's a range of modules. It didn't really fixate on my passion on security, right? So obviously I had to go to that route to actually build my skill sets, go on hackathons. Like last week I went to a Splunk event and I came third in the competition. So because of those skill sets I used and actually had to have the mentality of, kind of learning what I want to learn using my degree. That's how I became to use those skill sets to freelance. I wanted to make money on the side as well. I wanted to work in a team. I wanted to be able to be my own boss because freelancing is like contracting, right? And that's just the same thing. So it's having a job, but having it your way, your time. It's flexible. But the thing is, there can be an issue because you could be working at night, you could be working in the morning, you could be working with different people. Yeah, how I like, that's it. And it's really hard because there's so much of a competitive edge as well. Because if you're giving away your services, it's really hard because you're gonna have to keep fighting for the cost you want. So it wasn't like it's just like up and down a little bit. So I did it for my own kind of knowledge and aspects to kind of learn more pen testing, kind of be able to work on security in general, pen testing, because I didn't do it as my degree. So it was completely different. I offered those services, which helped me get a job as well in several companies. I declined their offer until I accepted NetApp. And because I was able to build my confidence through freelancing, I'm able to speak to customers. Hello, you wanted this, what are your requirements? What can I do for you? All these questions came up because I did it and I took my own initiative to do that. Do you see what I'm saying? I didn't just build from, I didn't just start with the company, I actually built from the ground to up. And that's why I took it as well. And to be my own boss, because a lot of people wanted to open up their own companies too and be their own bosses, but it's kind of hard when you don't have a team around you. But at the end of the day, you can do that, you can pursue it, but when the time is right, you see?
Can I just, sorry, I know it was aimed at you, the question, but it seems like you're interested in security, am I wrong?
No.
Okay, so I was just going to say that there's also lots of certifications out there, you probably know.
Yeah.
I know someone very well that's doing, that kind of has the same background as you, did software engineering and then into security now. They didn't have any experience, but they did the research out there to see like what kind of certifications that are important and make you more of a valid, I guess, security person. So just do your research into the job role you're interested in and see if there's any certifications. And they're gonna cost a lot. Once you get a job, you can also get them to fund you as well through these certifications.
There's also some of the Microsoft certifications are free and online. You can do them now straight away, and they actually benefit in some of our roles that we use. So yeah, they're also.
Very important. Are you crazy? That's how I got my job.
I was going to say, how else do you graduate, right?
Yeah, exactly. So basically, I did my project was, well, first I did the computer science. I did computer science. My project was actually creating a social media site that's built with e-commerce. Every company's asking, they will ask you, what was your final year project? That's just made one of the questions arising, right? Or what other projects do you have on the side or you've aligned? And then that's when you can articulate that project because you choose your project, right? So that's really great. Great question. Honestly, try and articulate your project. If the interviewer asks you about it, make sure you're confident about it. Don't just okay, copy and paste because that's my disso name. Do you know what I mean? So do it as if you liked the project. So that's why you're able to pick and you can go to a tutor and be like, look, I want to do this, and then you can use it for your interviews.
Because it's you that you know best the final year project. Okay, so
Exactly.
you know your project.
So
So
no
it's your
copying.
opportunity to be very confident since you develop it, you research about it. So you should be very, very confident about the final year project.
I feel like it's important, but it's not important at the same time. I don't know, like it depends on like how far you get with your final year project. But even if you did do like really well in the final year project, as long as you're able to like list like the sort of like mistakes you made like throughout the project, I think that can still be a really good valuable thing to talk about during your interviews, for example.
I know someone as well during my year. He did an internship. I can't remember the company, but his final year project was related to a problem they were trying to solve at the company. So that's a possibility as well. If you do end up getting an internship, you might be able to build something that will help a company, and that's always a bonus. I said sandwich because I don't actually remember the name. I'm sure placement and sandwich are all the same thing. But so the university helped me first of all by bringing light to this whole internship thing. I didn't really know it was possible. And then secondly, they helped me with my CV. I had one-to-one sessions with Hannah. I don't know if she still works here. And also they have a website. I don't know if this is still open to the Westminster students, but they have a website with a list of companies that have jobs available. I started applying through there firstly. Right, something, yeah. I had a couple interviews. They weren't successful, but every interview is like literally important because you're getting experience about questions that they're going to ask, and also you just become more confident in your answers as well. You have more things to say. And then in terms of my actual internship, I found this myself. I think someone mentioned before about applying directly to companies. I think that's really important. I don't really like recruiters personally, so I wouldn't go through that. But if you just go on the website, look for the roles that you want to apply for and apply directly through there, then I feel like I've had a lot more success like that. I don't know what the rest of that question was, but yeah, I think that covers it.
How did the interns, how did professors help you with the internship, like finding an internship?
So, yeah, I think my internship, I found it myself. Sorry. But they did help me like open my eyes, I guess, to like what's out there. I don't know. I just applied for it. I was kind of scared because I didn't know if I had the experience for that role, but I just applied anyways and managed to get it.
I was going to add to that, like, I didn't want to do like, I regret like not doing like placement year. I think my kind of thoughts back then was that I was like kind of scared of like not having friends around and also like being back behind a year. Like I might be able to like, I don't know. It's kind of weird now that I think about it, but like I was scared of like not having friends around me like when if I came back, and also the fact that I'll be a year back compared to my peers. But I realize now like a lot of like my friends now that were in my same year group still haven't found jobs, and I think like even having that kind of experience is really helpful. So if you have the opportunity to like have like an internship, I think you should just apply for it.
Yeah.
And I hope when Alex and her team is going to discuss about employability opportunities, resources that we offer here at the university, also all the emails that you receive from Hussein about different opportunities that may come for jobs or internships, I'm sure some of these questions probably will be answered. Okay, so after we finish with the Q&A session, Alex and her team can discuss about the employability opportunities we have here at the university.
Can I just mention something else? As much as the university will help you, it's down to you to push yourself to look for jobs. You can't rely on other people. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there and all that. Like, you have to remember, like, there's so much limited staff in the university, and there's so many of you. So, like, you're not a priority, to be honest. So you just have to push yourself and just try your best. And also, I just want to mention, with the internship, I realized, like, all of my friends that did internships and also myself, we just really became more mature. And you just realize how different life is out there, and there's no messing about sometimes. But yeah,
Yeah. I've never
Really?
seen. I've never seen that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very, very interesting because I had some contradictory views about the internships. For example, I had students saying, wow, after the internship, for example, I came back and I was so mature and I knew exactly what to do with my final year project. And with with time scales, everything, they were spot on. But also I had students saying, for example, I don't want to go back to the university and finish the third year because now that I'm working for the company, okay, and they offer me the job. So I fully agree. For me, internship and placement is must on. Okay, you're coming back in your final year and you're so much more mature and you know exactly what you're looking. But also there is the risk there that you enjoy so much the job that you're doing that you may not want to come back for 1 year. Okay, so that's what I'm saying about the contradictory. However, I fully agree. If you can take the placement, please guys do take the placement. Okay, it's very, very important.
I would say that that's where it makes a difference, having your final degree qualification and your final pay. It's, like if you just take whatever they offer you and you're not graduated, I think, you'll go throughout life wishing that you've done it. And like for me, it's like I wished for a long time that I'd finished what I had started. And this for me was finishing what I started. And what I have now, where I'm going, is because I was prepared to finish first.
Yes, I was. So it comes up, algorithms more so in the sense of they're not really looking for something that's textbook. Sometimes they're looking for, can you on the fly design one to solve a problem that they've given you in the interview. So, it could be, how do you remove special characters from a string? How do you reverse a string? Something like that. Something that you can actually do in 15 to 20 minutes. But you'll have very different types of interview that will test you on that kind of knowledge. So if it's something that you can do within the 20 minutes, it's going to be something custom that the CTO or a developer themselves has decided to present to you in the interview. It could be pretty standard that you could look up online and find out, they test on this kind of thing. They're very into big O notation or how the speed of an algorithm or the worst case of an algorithm. You're going to take all that complexity knowledge and you're going to study like hell for that interview. Or it could just be something very simple. You don't know, but it's always good to ask what's the process of the interview so that you can be prepared, because it's too difficult to sandwich 3 years of your life for a 1 hour interview. 1 hour is quite short. 3 hours is a really good interview, you're doing well. So the other part was algorithms and the other? Data structures. I got interviews less on data structures, but I would still say they're important because they are hand in hand. And the thing is that you might be quite good with algorithms, but then when they move on to data structures, you go, you've lost the interview. You can detect the sea change from your interviewers and they go, yeah, you lack knowledge. And that's your experience factor that's fighting against you there. So I'd say both of those things. When you're looking up a company, it's very good to know what they're looking for. So if you're like a really good developer and you want to go to FANG, so that's basically Netflix, Amazon, Google, I've got who stands for the F, but those are the top tier tech companies. We know their interview process is inside and out. So for Amazon, you need to code like hell. You need to do lead code until like you finish the whole syllabus. And then you can decide, I'm going to go and interview them, have a chance. But if you're going somewhere else, then you can sort of blast all of them and have a look at what their interview process is like, what other candidates have seen about their interviews and what they think of them. They are important. You just need to know how much of an importance you need to put on them to prepare for your interview. There are some basic things that, yes, you need to know, but you need to then say, the other 70%, how much do I need to prepare for the interview? And it very much depends on who your interviewer is. If they say the person's name, you could see who they're going to be. You can look them up and see who is going to interview. So if they're really into mathematics, then you can say, oh, okay, they're probably going to go and look at algorithmic complexity in my interview. then you have a gist of what that is. If the recruiter or the interviewer or HR has said to you, okay, this is the format of the interview, you can then decide to refocus your studies towards that. And then finally, it depends on what your role you've applied for, because what's on the job application, or even if it's not written there, what kinds of things are you going to be doing? And from your knowledge of the university, what does that lean into? And so then you're going to be thinking about, okay, because they're dealing with a very hyper-efficient language and they're looking for just-in-time execution, I need to be thinking about space complexity, or how much runtime and how much resources my programs consume. So I might need to be looking at algorithms that deal with that. So, and it also depends on the complexity of the role that you've gone for, because it's very different if you've gone for a graduate role. It's going to be much easier. If you've gone for a junior role, they automatically expect a certain level of experience. So when you're coming into that role, they assume, okay, well, you've perhaps done maybe a year's experience. I've done 0. So you need to play catch up in terms of knowledge to be prepared for that interview. And so you need to think a little bit harder how many or what types of junior roles you can apply to. Because the thing is, you may be on the market for quite some time, but you miss the winter window of applying to graduate schemes. And then you have to apply to those junior roles. So then you have to add in a little bit more preparation into what topics you go into. So algorithms complexity, your mileage may vary, but yes, very important. And there are some things that you should know. I'd say that's like Geek for Geeks, is it?
Yeah.
So I'd say basically,
Coding dojo.
yeah, the basics of that to lead you into the interview to do it, and just know what the interview process is like. Because are they looking for general knowledge, or are they looking for a live coding session of you doing it?
Okay.
Because that's very different. Because if you need to do a linked list and okay, just talk about it, that's fine. But if you need to actually execute and you've never done it before, you might run into some problems. So I would say whiteboard interviews are the scariest to do as live coding, but if you're just doing a chat, then you can afford to do less. So in a sense, I'd say 50-50, but it depends on who you're applying to.
I do want to add, I think what James said was right. It really depends on like how far you're willing to go in terms of like coding practice related to structures and algorithms. If you're applying for any more of the bigger companies, they require you to have like the aptitude of like coding skills, like and be able to code at this any spot. But
For my role required a code test that I had to pass before I could get the position for me. So it was part of my initial pre-probation period. So I had to do quite an extensive test. And I remember thinking I failed the test, but it wasn't just whether the code could function. It was like how you structured your classes, how you structured the information in and out of the application, and how it was leaning towards how it would work. So I think, I think know your stuff, but also don't be afraid to say, oh gosh, like I've done as best as I can do, and that's okay.
But even now, like I'm looking to apply for new roles too, but even I have to practice on my data structured algorithms as well. So it's not only like you guys that we have to practice it, but also me as well, which is I'm junior as well.
I couldn't answer that because I'm a LinkedIn. I love a LinkedIn. So first of all, the chats, right? Make sure your inbox is open. I wrote some articles on LinkedIn about ransomware protection and all that stuff. I used to delete them, edit them, and write them, so people actually view it, right? And then you have a bunch of keywords on your profile. Recruiters will be like, okay, you're interested in security, you're interested in AWS or cloud computing, say or so. So they'll send you a chat through your inbox. They'll be like, can you apply for this role? If you like it, then talk to me about it. Then they'll try and set up a call with you through the chat, through the inbox, and that's your leeway. You don't have to go apply for Indeed or those other websites. I think the best way is definitely through LinkedIn, because not only you're getting a referral from someone you've connected with, like me, him, or him. Do you have any open roles? I could ask him, do you have any open roles? Do you have any open roles? And then you've got recruiters sending you chats about, okay, this is an open role for you. We've got interviews for you. Let's set up a call tomorrow. That's how you get a job sometimes. Sometimes it'll work for you guys, but it's always worked for me, so I don't know how. So that's just an experience.
I would also say, say for example, you're applying to Facebook. Maybe not Facebook. I should say.
Yeah,
Kind of
nice,
hard.
but yeah.
Like, say you're applying to Wasabi. I would go on LinkedIn, search for people who are doing the same role as I'm applying for within the company, and connect with them, and then just message them. Just be like, "Hi, I'm interested to apply to your company. Could you tell me a bit more about your role? How is it within your company? Do you enjoy it?" Because at the end of the day, you have to be doing this job like every day, so you want to enjoy it as well. So I would say message these people directly, even like have phone calls with them if they're open for that. Coffees, why not?
I mean, prefer it that way as well, to be honest.
You got
Because
nothing
that's
to
how
lose.
all my friends got their jobs as well. Like, literally from a referral to referral, chatting on LinkedIn.
I mean, my brother's the same. He's also in tech as well.
Yeah,
He just
right.
tweeted someone in California, and they were like, "Hey man, do you want a job?" And I was like, "Wow, it's amazing." You know, it's like great. It can come from anywhere.
Yeah, but LinkedIn is powerful, that's it. Your social media is so powerful. You can't find a job online, message a recruiter. Look, just find recruiters on the same industry, and then a list of people come up, be like, okay, here, is this role open? Can I set up a call with you? I've got this skill sets for your company. I see that you're quite a good company, blah, blah, blah. You make sure you know the use case, make sure you know what technologies they use. I'm very interested. I just want to know if there's any available spots. It doesn't matter where the location is, as long as it's remote as well, so you can work in London obviously, or you can work somewhere else. But yeah, just message entry level, and because you don't want to go for a junior role. Do you know what I mean? Entry level, and just graduate level and entry level jobs in LinkedIn. That's where you want to be looking. Every recruiter, just go to every recruiter. Every shop you see outside, look at the name, apply.
I still think you should open for like junior roles as well, because sometimes even it's like 0 to 1 year, so it's still
Oh yeah, no.
Well,
Yeah.
That depends,
yeah,
right?
it depends on the
Yeah.
company.
Yeah,
I'd say
yeah,
for
it
junior
depends.
roles,
I
but
mean, just to be more open.
because there's usually less
Yeah.
support for a junior role because they expect a little bit more from you.
Yeah.
But I'd say for LinkedIn, I'm the opposite, where I wait for the recruiters to come to me. And I don't go looking for them. There are settings where you can turn it on and say that you're open to work. There's also the profile icon on LinkedIn where it puts your face in a circle that says open to work, because recruiters have their own section of the platform and they perform searches on specific keywords that link back to your profile. So under my profile, I have, my position at IBM and a language that I'm currently working in. So once I added that, that's changed the type of recruiters that come to me and say, okay, hi James, you've just joined IBM, but you may not be liking it there. Hey, ABC company is coding in this language, so you might be interested. Once you've changed those settings to say that you're looking for work, recruiters will search and then find you. And so they will slip into your DMs and say, hello, incredible profile. And they'll say, what kind of position are you looking for? Maybe we could have a chat, or I'm working on something right now that you might be interested in. And they might say a salary, they might not, but they'll give you a few details of what kind of industry, what kind of language, and you can choose to respond to them. So say I'm not looking, because there's an auto feature when they send you an automatic message, once they send it out to hundreds of people. So you can decide to use the automatic message to say yes or no, or you could choose to send something a bit more snappier to attract your attention. And then of course, it becomes the same kind of process that I said earlier, that you ask for the job spec and you go through the motions. But I'd say that's it's a very useful tool to get jobs. It's how I got in touch with one other recruiter that then landed me my first job, where I spent 2 years there. So it's how you manage to get some of your conversations started. And plus, of course, putting your CV out on the other job sites does help, because it just increases your exposure to recruiters and people who are looking for candidates.
Okay, thank you so much. So social media, very, very important. Let's see how it goes with Tweet and Elon Musk now.